message to those who care.
Hello and welcome to the boop bop beep bop zip zop zam. Let's try that again. Stop the music. Start the music. Hi there and welcome to the Toonami Audience Takeover Bracket, coming to you from fashionable, excited Midtown Atlanta. I woke up this morning. As you guys know, I don't check any websites other than adultswim.com/streams, but I hear a lot of honking and celebrating, and I assume it's because people are so excited to find out the results of the Toonami Audience Takeover Bracket. I'm Maxime Simonet. I'm sitting in the shirt I wore last night, also shorts that I've unbuttoned. And if you're not listening this today, November 7th, live at 5 p.m. Eastern, you're probably listening to this in you're probably listening to this on the Adult Swim podcast, which you can get wherever podcasts are sold. Excited to have everybody here. Excited to have everyone in the chat. Jeff Herrera, Bone Amputee. People are pumped because this is the final two. It's been a whole process. Before we get to our guests, I want to remind everyone this has been a not fair or balanced process. It's been weird voting with niche communities and ideas on not agreed upon platform. Instagram, not everyone thought we should vote on Instagram, but hey, what the fuck are you going to do? People in a real election have problems deciding how you should vote. How are we going to fucking make a poll about shows work? But it came down to two. Cowboy Bebop and Dragon Ball Z, and we have the result today. By the end of the show, you're going to know who wins. You're going to know your thoughts. You're going to know the thoughts of people who call in. You're going to know my thoughts. You're going to see Jason and Gil talk to us about it briefly, and we're also going to celebrate somehow. Maybe I'll open a bottle of wine. And joining me today, two folks who have been with us along the way on this journey, because we like to end the bracket with bringing back people who've seen part of the process and talking to them about it. Dana Swanson, the voice of Sarah. Christy Caracas, the voice of reason. How you guys doing?
It's a beautiful day here in Silver Lake, Los Angeles. Everyone's celebrating the Toonami Takeover Bracket as voted on Instagram with legal. Everything's legal. It's all legal. Don't say it's not legal. Legal tender has been tallied. I will say, all jokes aside, I'm really excited.
I have to say one thing. There has been some people arguing that dead people voted in this election, but as we know, in a lot of shows, even things like Game of Thrones, just because you die doesn't mean you're not coming back.
Game of Thrones really called it today. Just because you died doesn't mean you're not coming back. I'm also going to speak for the spiritual community and say that just because you're dead, it doesn't mean you don't have an influence.
Captain America traveled through time.
Yeah, Captain America froze himself, traveled through time. I would like to, Christy, give it to us. Give us a present.
How you doing? Presents. Is this working? I got my headphones.
Yeah, you sound great. You look great. We're long-haired
cool
guys.
Yeah.
Long-haired guys.
I don't cut it because I don't go outside. I don't leave my apartment. But I'm good. Yeah, I'm really excited. I'm excited to see who's the big winner. Yeah.
Christy, you've been watching some of the episodes too, other than the one you were on. Was there any shocking moments? Any of the eliminations you found particularly shocking?
I don't know if they were shocking. I think it was more the kind of thing whenever they're like, sometimes there'd be a matchup of two really, really big ones. Like, I mean, even like what was it? Hunter x Hunter was, I can't remember. Was it Hunter? Yeah, like Hunter and Bebop. Like, I'm really into Hunter x Hunter right now. So, I mean, I probably would vote Bebop personally for me, but I really like both of them. So yeah, there were a lot of those where I was like, I couldn't decide, and I don't know, it's just been really fun. The guests have been really great. It's been fun to hear people's different anime, kind of like their personal histories with anime, how they got into it, and stuff like that.
I thought it was so fun talking with you about the bootleg VHSs. I thought that was just like such a high point of that episode. Dana, did you have a time in your life, like, were you bootlegging tapes back in the day? Because Christy was a nerd going through tapes.
I had a giant garbage bag of Kenshin tapes that I worked through in a couple days. It was a black garbage bag full of Kenshin VHSs, and it was like one of my favorite stretches of days in like the late 90s. And there was like, I actually, at UGA, there was this sort of like passed along house called Meisane Koku that was like, it was like the anime nerd house, essentially. And there were like bookshelves of just like bootleg VHSs. I dated a fan subber for a while who was like fan subbing stuff off of Laserdisc, which like, that's an old format.
Yeah.
Let me tell you about Laserdisc, kids. But yeah, I do have a history with like, I love a good bootleg VHS. And then also the rule was always like, okay, once it's released, once there has been an official dub or official sub, we got to get rid of it. So then just due to copyright. So I don't know if you guys went through that too.
It's funny. I said this on the last one I was on, but I used to drive almost an hour. This is when I was in high school, to this. So this must have been, God, I mean, 90. It was a long time ago. But you'd go there and they'd have a list, and I was telling them I should have had my mom try to look for it. I found this list recently. It's like a dot matrix printer list. It's so old, but it was you'd order the one you'd want to see, and then you come back in a week or two, and they would have dubbed it for you off the disc. And it was just crazy. It was just I was so new to it. I was like, what are these crazy movies and anime? What is it? What are these cartoons? I didn't even know what they were, Now,
Christy, I had you check out Promised Neverland recently.
Oh,
what'd you think of that? And how did you get that? How did that change? How do you watch shows now?
That's been the other great thing about this thing. I've been watching ones I didn't know, and I'd never heard of Promised Neverland, and I binged it like that weekend. I watched all of them, and I loved it. I can't wait for the next season.
Where do you watch things, though? Where do we find stuff now that we don't do tapes? I feel like a lot of us kind of use pirating sites still for just the stuff. Because unlike HBO's releasing episodes in other languages like immediately now, but like dubs take a while to get here.
Yeah, because you got to have people talk.
Ugh.
There's talking involved.
Boring.
I like them more in like with subtitles because like they just feel more authentic. But it's funny because sometimes you can't, like, sometimes if I'm just eating even, it's hard to read and look at the artwork. So I find myself rewinding a lot. Like, I want to watch that fight scene without reading it. And so it's kind of crazy.
An argument for Cowboy Bebop's success has been that the dub is of an exceptional quality and stands out among the rest. Excellent
dub. Steve Bloom, my counterpart on Toonami, a main part in that show. I'm going to say he's eyeing the corgi, main part in that show. And so I think that is, and also all the voices in that show were brilliantly directed. So it is, that is a great point. If you have a successful dub, that can really boost what's going on in your show. And I like both equally. I think they both have equal merit. It's nice to, like, as Christy, as you were saying, it's nice to be able to like understand what's happening if you look away for a second. Subs, great way to learn the language. Dubs, great way to know what's going on. So they both
I found merits. I don't know if it's even easy to find the Tatami Galaxy dub.
I was just gonna bring that up. Like,
that's like a show you have to watch like twice because it goes so fast, right?
Mm-hmm.
That goes fast with subs, and I was like, how would they even dub this? It's so fast, that show, the pace. It's weird.
I heard from a friend that they call the big chin guy that in one of the realities like becomes their boss or whatever, and he hangs out at the ramen shop. I heard in the dub they call him Jay Leno because of his big chin.
Yeah, there's so much stuff that has to translate from, like, culturally to, this is a joke that would work really well in the States, or this is a joke that would work really well in Europe, or there are things that work differently everywhere. So, like, so many props to people that adapt, not just, like, for the language, but for the cultural differences that make a joke hit.
There was a funny thing. I was actually, because, like, a lot of times, sometimes when I'm working, like I'm drawing or something, I'll have something going and I'll listen, I'll be half watching. But again, like I was saying, you can't watch something subtitled when you're drawing and read and all this. But I was watching Hunter x Hunter, and sometimes I'll rewind a thing to compare the dub to to the sub because sometimes the dubs they're also matching the mouth a little more, so they might change it. But there was this one where it was the one I want to say it was like the 5th or 6th episode where the one guy tricks another guy and says he has like how am I going to say this? It was something like he had diarrhea. So in the English in the dubbed one they were like, okay, I'm not explaining this well, but the subtitles seemed one or the other I can't remember seemed funnier how they were describing. Like, oh, you have a stomach ache, but in the other one it was like like you have diarrhea, and it was like funny how I'm not making sense now, but you know what I mean? The comedy can be weird because I think they pick the words in the dubs I mean, to fit the mouth sometimes, so there's probably like only so much you can do.
To try and get the joke and the timing right and everything.
Yeah, it's got to be difficult. It's got to be difficult.
It makes these crazy lost in translation moments too that are just so typical of the genre that I feel like you and I were going for in parts of like Ballmasters and Gemusetu, right? Like there's such a specific delivery and a specific type of voice actor and a specific workaround to make it fit.
It'd be really it's probably the best if you speak Japanese and English and you can actually maybe pick up some of these differences, which I can't, but it probably must be interesting.
I remember, don't we have someone who used to work on AdultSwim.com, Dana, who localizes Nintendo games now?
Oh, Brandon Kramer, probably.
Yeah. Which is
EK.
also crazy, because there's so many, like, some of those games, I think, almost change entirely. Like, the Paper Mario games and those, I think they're like, they add so many jokes that are not Japanese jokes, which is crazy.
Yeah, like Paper Mario I think is extremely adapted, and also like I just want to give props to that. Anybody that has to work with a country that is in another time zone, there's also so much you have to do to be like, what time is it there? What time's our meeting? And then like you may be up at 9 p.m. and then they're up at 9 a.m. like trying to coordinate the same thing. People are getting tired. You gotta wait a day. Like it's nuts. I have done voice sessions before for like, there was a game it was a Japanese game. It was getting adapted for the States, and they wanted like Game of Thrones English. Basically, it was like, we want to do a Game of Thrones English accent here, but they kept playing over and over. They were playing like the Japanese dialogue and being like, just do that. And I'm like, oh, well, I don't sound like that. Like you hired me because I don't sound like that.
I have an ex who I think works with Russian programmers, and I can't imagine even the time distance of fucking Japan versus that.
Yeah, it's a whole thing, and you can. I'm sure that Jason and Gil will answer lots of questions about working with Japan on the East Coast, which is different than even where I am. It's like a little bit less time difference, but like East Coast working with Japan.
But Jason gets to do all those plane rides and like have a few cocktails.
Now, right now, it's COVID, baby. Yeah.
I'm gonna plug an article because I remember I've heard multiple interviews with this guy, Jeremy Blaustein, who translated the first Metal Gear Solid. And just the process of the adaptation and localization of games. It kind of ties in, it's semi-related to anime dubs and stuff.
And then also, like, translating Kojima in general, like, he's just on such a whole other wavelength. So you're, like, not just, like, working against, like, a language barrier, but also, like, a what are you thinking barrier that you're trying to fully grasp and understand.
Well,
so like I call that the artist barrier.
The artist barrier.
There's also an artist barrier that has to be fully respected when you're working with Kojima.
Christy, we were talking about something cool on the phone yesterday about like what we kind of liked, and it tied into something. So we had some people on the show, the anime Balls Deep streamers, and I was talking with some of them on their own stream the other day. Yeah, they go balls deep with their anime.
Balls deep.
A bunch of chavvy weebs from England, and we were talking about stuff, and someone they brought up the point that a lot of the shows that get made in Japan, and what's kind of the difference between the American cartoon market and the Japanese cartoon market, is that there's very much an insistence on, well, if it's proven to work, we're going to make it. So any manga that succeeds then becomes a show. Any book, it's just like we're going for it, we're making it, which is just the process is a little different, especially since Christy and I were kind of feeling like that a lot of those mangas have this strange auteurship to them. It's not really like a big, super developed committee thing. It's like JoJo's is working, we're making it a show. We're doing
what? Yeah, like I don't know why we even started talking about this, but I was talking to someone recently about. I think I was talking to someone about pitching shows, and when you pitch a show here, depending on the like every network, you have to know your market, and you talk like you're going to get notes from the network and lots of things that might shape things in a certain way. And I was just saying, it's funny because when you think of anime as a whole, which is a weird thing to say because it's so the shows are so different, but they all feel like anime, but they're all very different. But I was like, a lot of them are coming from a comic or a manga that is one original creator's kind of vision. So I think, yeah, there's this uniqueness, or like I don't want to say it's pure, but you're getting someone's vision that might be a little less diluted maybe, and straight to the show. And I'm sure the shows are always a little different than the manga, but you're getting these things that are very someone's personal work as opposed to maybe a pitch, if that makes sense. I don't know, I thought that. I don't know if it's true, but I was just thinking about it, and I was like, that's why you're getting these wacky, crazy things that are all over the place. I don't know, I just thought it was an interesting thing.
Well, and I've been thinking about that, and I don't know if I said that on this stream, but because there's a lot of things, and there's even like, Araki forgot in which is like a meme in JoJo's, the things Araki forgot while he was making the JoJo's arcs. And I was always thinking the reason sometimes there's stuff that doesn't pay off, or it doesn't have, and I've related with it because I've made a lot of stuff under tight time constraints in this building, and for better or for worse, there's like a weird process that comes out of it, right? Like just finding the show as you go and like just making it instead of going through a real tough committee decision. But there's like charm and just vulnerability almost in the things that don't pay off. So I was having the same thoughts, that it feels like it's got to be mostly this guy. Sometimes he fucks up, but not necessarily. It's just like sometimes it's not what people say this sells in terms of setting up a story beat and paying it off. Maybe there's just an alien one episode because he likes it.
I think too, and again, I think the things you're saying are true. But I think when we were talking, I was coming at from this. How do I say this? I was thinking of Adult Swim a lot too. Like when you think of the Adult Swim shows, they feel like Adult Swim, but they're very much a creator-driven thing. Like Aqua Teen is so those Dave and Matt, and it doesn't feel like something anyone else would ever make ever. Or Tim and Eric is so Tim and Eric. You know what I mean? And whereas I think something like, say, an Iron Man, it's been around for a while. It's a property. You probably, the Iron Man comics, they've gone through lots of different writers and versions, and I don't know if that makes sense, but
there's not necessarily like a show Bible that's like, here's exactly how to do everything, and I'm going to hand this off to another generation. It's kind of like, well, these are the people that do it, and these are their brains, and this is their like the artistic barrier. Like this is like, you can't. The hope is that you're not able to necessarily hand it off to somebody else, is that the voice is still strong and within it and expected, and if that voice isn't there, it's not really as successful of a show. Which, like, I mean, I have not run a show at Adult Swim. I have seen many shows in my time when I was there, but the stuff that really worked was the stuff that it's just like, well, this is it. How do you feel about it?
Have you guys ever watched something I've been thinking about lately? Sorry if I'm cutting you off. Do you want to? Sorry, you can finish your thought. I was transitioning in my head to something else. I'm an asshole.
I just keep thinking about Boondocks, and I'm like, Boondocks rules. So I was just thinking about that. Like, that show was just like, this is what's happening. What do you think about it?
A show that got eliminated early on, but went a little further than I thought, was Paranoia Agent, and it has this great episode about making anime, if people haven't seen it. This is actually the dub version of that episode's on YouTube. Not that I'm encouraging you to find episodes on YouTube, but it's kind of about also the overworked stress of making shows, and I think that's a topic of discussion these days, about these animators getting paid peanuts and working their asses off just to get their feet in the door. What do you guys have to say about that? Are we a little better about that in the States, or are we worse, Christy? That's the follow-up to that.
I don't know. It depends where you work.
Yeah. There's a lot here in LA. There's a lot about like people who want to like work their way up in writing, and they take a writer's assistant job that isn't secure, that works into the bone. They have to get on multiple credit cards in order to survive. That's something that's, I think, across the board in the industry, like not just in animation, but in TV, is like sometimes you intern or you take a really low paying job because you're just like, oh, but maybe someone will like what I do. And keep going. So Christy, what's your take on it?
I mean, I think there's a lot of, you know, there's union, there's the non-union. I mean, look, I definitely think they're probably way more overworked and crazy in Japan. I think, from what I've heard and read about it, it seems insane. I mean, we had a guy I know of a friend who went over there that works in anime, and he said his experience was you get paid by the drawing. Like, you know, like there used to be jobs you get paid by the foot of animation, but back in the day. But like, I think he'd get paid by each drawing they finished. But he was like, but here's the funny thing. It's not how fast you draw, because every drawing you have to submit, and they'll be like, no, wrong, start over. And you like, it'd be like any little imperfect thing. So, I mean, again, this is just one person's experience. But yeah, if I was to guess which is more of a crazy work to death work culture, I'm guessing Japan. It's a guess. I don't know.
It's a good guess.
Yeah.
A good guess.
Some people in chat are talking about Paranoia Agent not feeling like it doesn't age too much. I think multiple times I've tried to
How
vouch
old
for
is
this
it?
one show. When was it made? I feel like it was mid-2000s or maybe like 2011 or something. Let me see real fast. 2004 was the first episode. Wow.
I need to watch that one. That's one you kept recommending to me, I think.
I keep recommending it, and people are talking about it being timeless. And if anyone in the chat hasn't seen it, I know because, you know, clearly it's aired on the more recent version of Toonami because Gail put it on this list. Mm-hmm. But like I said, it talks a little bit about the animation process and some of these weird, almost unrelated episodes. It does things like, I'm going to be douchey, but we just did the rewatch of Game Musettu, and some of the things we did for fun was random sports memories or kind of side stories, and we had the time to do that with our weird format. And Paranoia Agent the director earned kind of making 3 episodes in the middle of the show out of like 14 about the world, but none of the main characters. Oh, we're getting a call real quick.
Hello.
Hey, you're on the line with the Toonami audience takeover. Who's this?
Bracket takeover.
Wait, so let me change. I think you're coming out of the wrong source for me.
Yeah, are you coming
my
out of
fault.
the bathroom speaker? Which speaker are you in?
There you are. Who's this?
Oh, Jeffrey.
Hey, Jeffrey, what's up?
Hey, Jeff.
All right. Just hearing you guys talking about how you know how the anime industry works, or how what business they do.
Do you have a dog yipping in the background?
I do. Sorry about that.
Yeah, and the final thoughts I wanted to say on this was people talking about it being timeless. It's also about being like addicted to your phone and making excuses, which always feels timeless. Anyway,
Always timeless. Always timeless.
what do you want to bring up, Jeffrey? Do you have any theories on who's going to win, or do you have any shows you want to talk about before we end this bracket?
So I was hearing you guys talking about the anime industry. So there are some certain animes that they make, like. There's like, I think at least 2 shows, like one called Shiribaku, which they talk about the production process and everything that the creators and the animators and the producers do.
Mm-hmm. Go on.
And
I'm
also,
listening.
Yeah. We're here.
So
Whatever
it's
you
pretty
need to
good.
shed.
Yeah, it's a pretty good show. It's a very good show. Like, if they want to learn about how the animation process works, definitely check that show out. And also regarding with the bracket between Bebop and DBZ, I gotta have to say my guess will be probably DBZ.
But you had to think about it. But give me the reason DBZ, because bringing up people talking about Paranoia Agent aging well in my mind, and like, you know, I've said that's a show I watch too much. I feel like Cowboy Bebop to me ages better than Dragon Ball Z. Dragon Ball Z feels foundational, but it's like Alexander Nevsky. Like, I don't really want to watch that movie, but I know it's important.
I just watched that. I just watched that movie recently. I literally just watched that movie during quarantine, and I loved it.
Well, maybe I got to rewatch it.
You know what's funny? When I watched that,
You guys
so
talk
funny
about
you bring
that.
up
I have an
movie.
emergency call. I'll be right back. You guys keep talking.
Emergency. Max has an emergency.
I watched that movie on Criterion, and I remember going, "This is crazy. It looks like Lord of the Rings, but way filmed long ago." And it's a really wild movie about this Russian Revolution type thing. I think it is, but it's crazy visuals. I thought.
I haven't seen it yet. I'd love to see it. Jeff,
It's
are you
good.
still on the line? What do you got to say about it? No?
Yeah,
Okay.
I had not seen it, but I'll definitely check it out.
Let's
It's-
do it. So I know that we don't have the graphic up, but maybe, Jeff, you can answer this question. What What knocked Agent out? What knocked it out? Who took it? Who took
Well,
that?
knock it up.
Yeah.
I really like Paranoia Agent. I like how the story is and how psychological it is. But for Paranoia Agent, for me, I guess it's pretty much, it has like different types of, when I first watched it, it feels like it had like each episode had like a different story for each character. But I did really, but I think without spoiling, at the ending, without spoiling, the ending, it kind of took me. It was like something that I didn't get, but I did really enjoy the episodes.
So your theory is that the ending is why it didn't make it to our final two that we're seeing now.
Well, pretty much, yes.
Okay. Pretty much, yes. I think that's a good analysis, a good strategy. I don't understand sports. Everyone is honking. This is because they're still excited that the Dodgers won. They're excited that Paranoia Agent. They're sad about Paranoia Agent, but they're excited that we're down to 2.
Are you guys vamping right now? Did I ruin the whole thing?
I'm
just wanted to see what
vamping.
you guys were doing.
Yeah.
No,
I'm so sorry. I just got a very special emergency. Thank you to Rakeem Miles, who sent me a big thing of Coca-Cola. This is all for celebrating the
Special
bracket.
emergency. All
And-
for celebrating
Yay.
the bracket.
And some Hennessy Black.
Hell yeah.
Thank you, Rakeem Miles.
Was the phone call the delivery guy?
Apparently.
He
Oh,
delivers
nice.
Hennessy.
That got delivery Hennessy for the bracket.
It's for the bracket. Congratulations, bracket.
Thank
I know, I
you.
feel like
Thanks
I
for
could do
calling
this
that.
bit forever, but I legit am excited about Biden winning. Trump was elected on my birthday 4 years ago, and I saw someone get hit by a car. It was one of the top 3 worst birthdays. Tomorrow is also my birthday, and it's hopefully going to be a better birthday.
Happy
so.
birthday.
Thank
Everybody's
you.
birthdays. Tina's celebrating her big birthday party tonight. Well,
Really? It's Tina's birthday?
I think it's Monday, but her party with the friends is tonight. Let's look at this. What about you guys? Who do you guys think is going to take it between Cowboy and Dragon Ball?
So, Max, I missed it. Who knocked Paranoia Agent out of the bracket?
Oh, back a while ago? Oh, that was a while ago. It was knocked out by Kill la Kill.
Is that Kill la Kill?
Oh,
That is so fascinating to me. That is not how I thought that would go. So, okay, who's gonna win? My money is on Cowboy Bebop, personally.
Well,
My
let's
money's on Cowboy
start
Bebop.
with names. Let's go back to your old style because Dana, we did a goofy
Yes.
one your first time when you were here. We went through and we voted by name.
Very controversial. Some people did not like the Balky Bartakamis approach. Again, Bronson Pinchot, the actor, not a good person, open Hollywood secret. But I will say that his character style in Perfect Strangers of picking names is a fascinating way to go. I would say that these both have very strong names. I'm going to go Cowboy Bebop over Dragon Ball name-wise.
What if
because-
you were doing the final 4 too? And let's
Okay.
explain this first, and then we'll go. I'd love to see what you think would have won the final 4 too. But why does Cowboy Bebop take it?
Oh, because of the name?
Yeah, what makes that name better than Dragon Ball Z? Because Z's got just a whole letter in it. What's the Z
It's
even
got a
mean?
whole letter Z. It's where it's Alpha and Omega. We're kind of going to the end of the alphabet with the Z. I like that I know what I'm getting. Again, this is why I picked Space Dandy, because I know what I'm getting. I know what I'm getting with Cowboy Bebop. I knew what I was getting with Space Dandy, which is I'm getting a cowboy and I'm getting an amazing playlist. That's like all I need to know. And I fully support amazing playlists. I love music. I love the music of that show. And so that is like where I would go, just based on name alone. Dragon, but you're right. We have a dragon. Dragons rule. We have a ball, round, spherical.
We're gonna have a ball.
We're gonna have a ball. We're gonna have a ball with a dragon. The letter Z or Z, depending on what country you're in, or if your stepdad's British. Hello, my stepdad. But you're gonna go that way. So it is tough name wise, but I gotta give, I'm Tom Colicchio. I'm giving a slight edge to Cowboy Bebop here.
But if we were to do the final 4, if you had 2 more options, the others being My Hero Academia and Demon Slayer, would either of those conquer Cowboy Bebop as a name?
Demon Slayer is such a strong name because, again, you know exactly what you're getting. It's powerful. I know I'm going to see demons. I also know I'm going to see demons conquered. I want to see that. But I personally like knowing the music's going to be good. So I'm going to pick Cowboy Bebop.
Christy, for you, of those 4 shows, what's the name that you think is the best? Silly question, I know, but we're having fun with it. It's the final
Having fun.
episode. We have 1 elimination to do. We got lots of time to kill.
I mean, I don't know the logic of the name game, but for the best name, I mean, Cowboy Bebop is still a really cool name. I mean, it's like, what? It's like, it's cool. So, yeah, I think Cowboy Bebop for the name game.
Inherently anachronistic, and even the show itself is further more anachronistic than the title. Cowboys didn't exist during jazz.
No. And I did a spot a couple years ago where I scripted in that somebody was a space cowboy, and the people were like, "We don't understand what space cowboy is," and I was like, "Have you not seen Cowboy Bebop? Do you not?"
We don't understand what Space Cowboys is.
Yeah, but to me, like, Han Solo is a space cowboy.
Yeah,
it's
for
like,
sure. A
here's
rogue.
A person,
He's got a vest,
even. He's got a vest. He's got a holster. That's a space cowboy. And Spike Spiegel does it differently. He's got a suit with a vest sometimes a vest.
Imagine Harrison Ford as Spike. Christy, are you going to bed?
No, this is my couch, but I was like, why not just chill out like this? It's kind of chill.
Yeah, I love that we're if straight up we've been invited into your living room today. This is nice.
Yeah, and I'm just celebrating by drinking Hennessy Black.
I was just saying how I have like the worst Zoom background, but this is pretty cool.
This is a great Zoom background. Is that a microwave? That's a great Zoom background.
Yeah, it's my cool microwave, and that's my cool kitchen island.
Who's on the line with us right now? We got someone on the line.
It's
Avi, who's called in every week with predictions based on his friend's opinion. Tell us about it.
Well, first of all, Dana, I just want to know I share your pain because tomorrow's actually my birthday too.
Oh, whoa. Ooh.
Anyway, so.
I hear you. Happy
I'd
birthday,
say,
almost.
Thanks.
6.5 hours.
I'd say I think it's going to boil down to nostalgia versus what's the better show. Now, I think that DBZ seems to be on a lot of people's lists. It was on both the top 2 brackets. But I think based on what I've seen, Cowboy Bebop definitely has more fans in terms of its quality. And yes, like I said, it is a shorter show. So but yeah, Dragon Ball Z was an institution in anime for a lot of people's like childhoods.
Mm-hmm.
And it really does depend on what the audience is. And again, Cowboy Bebop was more of an Adult Swim thing. So yeah, we'll see. But my money's on Bebop.
So how much money, here's a question just for logistics. I know that's a figure of speech, but how much money would you put on Bebop?
How much money would I put on Bebop? I'd say...
He's thinking.
How many credits?
Oof.
Yeah, how many gex would you put on Bebop?
Say,
we're in the movie Dune.
No, I don't know, actually. I don't know, because it's a pretty risky bet.
Come on.
It's a risky...
Baby, be risky for me.
Yeah,
what
if you get it's a good payoff?
And I don't actually know what the results are.
Ooh.
I don't actually know what the results are. I didn't look at the results. Because I wanted to maintain suspense.
Wow. Is that fun for you, having suspense?
Oh, yeah.
Has it been a fun ride, Avi? That's the main question.
Well, it's definitely been a fun ride. It's definitely been a lot of surprises and upsets and stuff I never could have anticipated.
Like the time Jason shot Gil on camera during the show, right?
Whoa, I missed that.
Yeah, Jason was like, you know what? Fuck you, Gil Austin. They were apparently in the same house on separate webcams, and he shot him.
Hey, it's a live stream. You never know what's going to happen.
You never know what's going to happen.
Oh, no.
Gil is alive, though. He's alive.
I'm going to go with Kismet and say 90,000 Woolongs.
Whoa, 90,000 Woolongs on Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah, I see a 90,000 woolongs. I see $2. I see I'd put $20. I see a
Oh,
10 million double dollars. I
God
see
damn.
200.
All
I
right.
see 50. We're all
Thanks
over.
for
We're all
calling,
over.
Avi. Well,
Hi, Avi.
I want to say one thing that's been fun that Chrissy's been talking about is recommending shows and finding new shows on here. Like I've been giving Hunter x Hunter myself a big watch, which I hadn't because it got so
Big
friggin'
watch.
far.
Big watch, yeah.
Is there
Do it.
anything on here? How about Dana, you first, that you're like, it's got eliminated, but you should check this out if you haven't already?
You know what? I really feel like, we spent so much time on Paranoia Agent, and I do really like Kill la Kill. I feel like a lot of Kill la Kill is a newer show, so I feel like more people have probably seen it. But it made it pretty far, and it knocked out a big show that we've already talked about. So I would say, if you haven't, definitely, I'm gonna put it on your radar again. It's going back on your radar. It was off. Now it's back on. I feel like there was another one I wanted to shout, but now I'm just like, I'm losing my train of thought, which means Christy, it's back to you. Back to you, Christy.
Back to you.
I mean,
Christy.
I think what you said was rad too. Like, it's always like sometimes there's one of those shows like you know what it is and you see it a million times, but you just don't have time to watch it. And like again, when I watched Promised Neverland, I was like, how have I never watched this? It's so good. It's one of my. I mean, it's one of those animes. Like to me, I could see it. It almost felt like a live action because it's all about the story, and it didn't have a lot. It doesn't have necessarily a lot of like fights or anything, but it's more like the tone and the characters and the story that were so exciting. One that I would say, this isn't really on there, but you guys had some different Gundams on there, but I think one just said Gundam, and I don't know if you talked about this before, but I don't think it was on Toonami, but correct me if I'm wrong. But I love Gundam. I'm a big Gundam fan, and we had a big talk when I was on how kind of robot and mech stuff is sort of not popular at the moment, and it seems more like an older thing. But I really liked, there was a new series that came out called Gundam: The Origin, and it was like from like Char's point of view, and it was new, but it looked kind of retro, and I really liked it. I think it was maybe 6 of them or 7 of them, but I really would recommend that.
Gundam: The Origin.
Yeah, I fucking loved it. It was really good. But I mean, again, I don't know if it's not one of those fighter ones. It was more like him and his family and like the political thing of how they came to power before the big war.
You know what? That is reminding me of, like, I love that you said that, Christy, that, like, a lot of the big, like, giant mech robot shows were sort of a thing of, there was definitely a movement that felt like a thing that's more of a past thing, and maybe why it hasn't had the same showing. Like, if we had done this bracket before Instagram, that would have been definitely a different bracket than now.
It was weird because when I got into anime in, like, maybe the late 80s, early 90s, it was, obviously the 70s was huge, but it was always a thing, and we were talking about it in the talk. Maybe I was listening to one of the talks too. Maybe I wasn't on that talk, but I just remember thinking, oh, that's so weird. They're right. Like, I don't know any really big animes right now with huge robots or even a lot of mech things. It's all a little bit more horror and weirdness and things like that. And
Right.
I thought that was kind of interesting. I just thought it was neat. I thought it'll be neat in maybe the next 5 or 10 years. Will one get really popular again? Maybe Evangelion, you could argue, is.
Well, I think Evangelion and Attack on Titan are the closest, and
Yeah.
both of them are kind of deconstructions of the genre too.
Yeah. Evangelion is a perfect example, and Evangelion was kind of also running parallel with another Super Sentai show, which was Power Rangers, which is live action, but it was still like very much in the zeitgeist of like big fucking robots. Excuse me, I don't know if I can say that.
Yeah,
big robots.
You can say robots.
I can say robots, big robots coming together to form something larger in this sort of like post-Voltron world, because that was so popularized. But Evangelion, big showing, and then I want to even say like maybe 2013 is like when there was a slight possible uptick because of Pacific Rim. And
Oh yeah.
Speaking of Kojima, he was a huge fan of Pacific Rim.
I love that they just were like, we don't know what Evangelion is. What are you talking about? We're Pacific Rim.
Oh my god.
Yeah, did you ever read those interviews when they were designing it? And they were like, "Oh, our crew, we told them don't look at any giant robot or anything." And I was like, they've never seen this stuff? Come on."
Yeah, you've never seen anything with a kaiju? Like, what are you talking about?
It seemed weird to me.
Life Virus in the chat earlier said, "I didn't vote out of protest." Do you think that was for the American election, or do you think it was for? I don't know what you'd protest for this.
I didn't vote out of protest.
I'm protesting Instagram.
I'm
votes.
protesting. Maybe they don't like Instagram stories.
Yeah,
Some
that's
people
it.
are adamantly against Instagram stories. I did want to ask. I don't know who runs that account, but I wanted to ask. Like sometimes when I have polls on Instagram stories, I get fake. They're fake voters. There are accounts that are like, here is a fake vote trying to get my attention to look at the account. So I'm like, I hate to bring up fake voting. I hate to bring it up, but sometimes there are robots voting.
Sometimes I voted the U.S. election just to get attention from Donald Trump. Senpai noticed me.
Yeah.
Hey, you're in the line with the Toonami audience takeover bracket. What's up?
Hey, yeah, I wanted to chime in on the giant robot discussion. Christy, the Gundam Origin did air on Toonami. I don't think it was actually on this bracket, though.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, they
Sorry,
aired it,
guys.
last year.
Oh, that's great. Well, that's one I would highly recommend. I did you like it too?
Yeah, I liked it a lot.
And
Yeah.
was that a movie or was there a?
fan?
Yeah, I thought it was really cool.
OVAs. There were like 7 OVAs, and then they split it up into 13, 11 or 12 episodes, and that aired on Toonami.
Because maybe you know better than me. Like I used to watch Gundam back when I first got into anime, so like the original stuff, like like 0080 and Char's Counterattack and stuff like that. And then I kind of stopped for a while. And there's a lot of stuff that would maybe be on Toonami. Like there was like Victory Gundam and all these different versions. But then I remember there was one a while back, that Thunderbolt. It was like a really short one, and that one had crazy.
Oh yeah, Gundam Thunderbolt. With all
animation was awesome. It was so good, but it seemed like another really limited one. There were only like 4 episodes or something, right?
Yeah, and then they compiled it into a movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really good. I recommend that.
Yeah, this one I remember the animation was crazy good. I mean, look at it; it's crazy.
Yeah.
I thought
all those Gundam OVAs are just stunning looking.
Yeah.
But it is a shame that giant robots have really gone out of style. Like, I love Gurren Lagann, I love Gundam, and right now there's like no mecha being made. It's a bummer.
Could be something that just comes back. Maybe people are kind of sick of it, and this new stuff was more exciting, and someone will have a new twist on it or something, and it'll be big all of a sudden. Like, you see that crazy new anime? I don't know.
The guys, the Stupid Buddy guys, didn't they make a Voltron-esque show?
They did. It was called Titan Maximum,
Titan
and it
Maximum.
was mostly run by. I always get Matt's last name pronunciation. I question it.
Senreich, right?
Senreich. Senreich. I love him so much. He's one of the nicest people. But yeah, they made that show. I used to know the year because I used to have to deliver the tapes. But it was definitely, that was a little bit more of a Power Rangers send up, even though it was stop motion. So it was sort of like, in stop motion is sort of in this little in between world of like, is it live action? It's animation technically, but our brains, do we interpret it as animation or live action?
You know what else is really nuts? I want to make sure it's the right Gundam series. I think it's V Gundam. No, I don't think it's Victory Gundam. There's one Gundam series where Sid Mead designed the fucking Gundam and some of the robots. And what's weird is it's a really long one. And it was this weird, some of the Gundams are kind of like in these alternate universes or something. And they were discovering these Gundams like they were buried or something, different ones, but they were from all the versions. I think it was like on one of the anniversaries of the series. So they were like ones from other series, but they were all in this series. It was really weird. It was, and then that Gundam, he has like the yellow kind of thing, the V. They brought it down, so it was like the eyes were like where my eyes are, and the thing is like here. It was really neat. But if you don't see it looked like an upside down mustache, and I really like that series too. I don't know if that was on what's the name of it? I gotta see now.
It's on Quibi.
That wasn't on Toonami.
Well, I'm going to follow up with what Life Virus clarified themselves.
It was Turn X Gundam.
Oh, okay.
I really like that series.
Life Virus clarifies, didn't vote on this out of protest because it was boring and predictable. Bebop and DBZ are overplayed and really need to just acknowledge that they've ended, which is interesting.
What?
I don't think he's completely wrong. It might be interesting.
Turn A, sorry, Penta Penguin.
To do a bracket with all shows that aren't like the top shows, because part of the most fun, as we've had, are talking about the shows that, I didn't give this one a chance yet, or what are your favorites of these, and because like the top ones are usually the things kind of pyramid into like how relevant they are and how excited people are. People exponentially can latch on to the biggest name because it's just an easier barrier to entry. It doesn't make them lazy. They might be more active in finding something else, but more people just might know Dragon Ball Z, and that's all they need, you know? Whereas other people are like, well, man, no, I'm a aficionado in this genre, and I know how it's gone, and I know that fucking Helsing Ultimate's got this great Nazi stuff in it or something, you know, whatever. I think you guys understand what I'm saying, though. Like, there's an interesting case to do a show where the biggest obvious ones can't win.
Yeah.
I like that idea.
It's almost like it's like the wild card show. It's like we're just going to focus on the teams that aren't going to make the World Series. Like we're just going to wild card it and see what happens. I actually really like that idea because, like, yeah, these are shows that are very much in the consciousness. Like My Hero Academia is probably the one that's like it, because I sometimes do stuff based off of like, well, what am I seeing at conventions? And My Hero Academia is like the #1 costume lately. Is everybody's like, we got to get a group together. We're doing this. This is our group. Like I see that costume so many times, or at least costume groups. Like there's just one costume from that show. No. I just feel like anybody that's doing a group costume, that's going to kind of signal this is what's doing well, this is what's successful, this is what people want to not just see, but literally embody.
Mr. 11 points out, Attack on Titan's all about that sick animation. Why even try to do live action? Well, I think it's because, I'm not an expert, but like I said, those guys in those Anime Balls Deep podcasts, the guy was saying it's something that was proven to make money, so they'll make another thing out of it.
Look at Disney right now.
Yeah, exactly. They're making Simbas in every movie now.
Simba.
Thanks for calling,
We
man.
just got to put Simba in. We got to get a Simba fanny pack for everybody.
Simba.
Simba.
I've got to announce it. I'm going to stop the music for a sec. I've got bad news for 0215 Madman. The submitted bracket he sent is not the first place bracket. Sarah overlooked one. We'll be announcing the first place bracket later. 0215, you will still get a Makasu body pillow despite that. I'm still giving you that because we did say you won. I don't know if have you guys seen the latest of the Makasu? There's a new design. I think I sent it to you, Christy. Let's bring it up on the screen just because it's. I'll bring up the. No, I sent it to Ty, not Sally. Sally got the
Max,
sketches.
send me some stuff. I need to furnish my apartment.
No, we're not making too many of these. Only the people who beat the video game last night get this. And 0215 Madman. Let's take a look at how beautiful it is. But
Here
I'm
we
sorry,
go.
0215 Madman.
Beautiful.
Oh, God.
Beautiful.
Let's bring the music back.
Yeah, don't. That's a beautiful body. All
You still
bodies
get
are
that, but we're
beautiful.
going to announce the true winner later. But we should announce the winner of the bracket first. You guys excited for that? You excited
I
to
stopped
see it?
breathing. I'm
stopped
very
Yeah,
excited.
speechless.
We're going to announce the winner of the bracket. And
I was
maybe
holding my breath.
Okay, shh. Everyone hold your breath. We're going to announce the winner bracket and maybe hear from Jason and Gil. Let's take a look. In the match of Cowboy Bebop versus Dragon Ball Z, the winner is Cowboy Bebop with 59%.
Hey, so here we are. Thanks, Max, for taking over the Toonami Takeover Challenge
Thanks for giving
bracket.
us a few weeks off.
And thanks to everybody who's been watching and voting and calling in and all the special guests. And we're pre-recording this, so I'm assuming we're not spoiling it at this point. If we're not, maybe we'll just call this an announcement, but we want to give our congratulations to Cowboy Bebop, the winner of the Toonami Fan Takeover Bracket Challenge.
And it beat Dragon Ball Z
against DBZ. It was neither fair nor balanced all the way through, but that was
surprised. I'm actually surprised because I think Bebop is a better show than Dragon Ball Z, sort of, but it's certainly not as popular of a show, so I'm surprised.
Yeah, I mean, it was fun following along Instagram and having it pop up and voting as it was going through, because it was a lot of matchups of just like, ooh, I do feel better, but this probably is a better show moments, and I think that's probably what it came down to. I mean, I think if you said one show Desert Island anime for all time. I don't know if that changes anyone's opinion. I don't know if it changes mine either. Probably you'd get a lot more mileage out of 276 episodes than 26 episodes, but maybe not as enjoyable. I mean, I think objectively, I agree. Bebop is the better show, quote unquote.
Yeah. Dragon Ball is definitely the more influential show.
Yeah. And I don't think many people, Toonami fans or not, maybe not. If you asked me a long time ago, what's the one anime I should watch if I've never watched anime, I would say, here are the DVDs for Cowboy Bebop. If you don't like this, you probably aren't going to like Bebop. But I think the same could be said certainly for younger viewers. Like if you don't like DBZ, you're not necessarily going to not like anime. But if you're like, this sucks, I think it is hard for you to find a home.
Yeah, I would say that's correct. I mean,
so
they're both entry points for so many people into anime, and they're both, I mean, at least Bebop is mentioned as often as Miyazaki when it comes to what anime should I start with, because it's such an American influenced show that I think it often is people's entry point when other people suggest an anime.
Right.
And especially I wonder what's going to happen when the Bebop live action Netflix show comes out, if it's going to boost the popularity of Bebop the cartoon, you know what I mean, depending on how the show is received, obviously.
Yeah. Or drive people back to the anime.
Yeah, or will it be another Death Note where they just completely face plant and completely blow it? But yeah, I'm happy with this result. Obviously, it was some tough choices were made. So we got here. Max took us here with grace and wit, and now we have his show premiering. So part of the reason why Max was doing all this was so that we could draw attention to the fact that Max is a longtime anime fan, and in fact, you might even call him a weeb, and he may or may not object to me saying that. So Max, if you don't think of yourself as a weeb, pretend I didn't say it. But so we wanted to highlight what, you know, Max's love of anime, so that everybody who watches Toonami, who paid attention to all this stuff, would understand that his show, Game Set Death Beats, which is the second season of his show, is a loving homage and parody of anime, and by somebody who really knows what they're talking about. And that's why the main reason that we felt like it belonged to Toonami, because we think Toonami viewers, or some Toonami viewers, are going to like it. So we hope we're right. I think Death Beats, if you like the first season, Death Beats is even better. And if you didn't see the first season, I don't actually think you need to have seen the first season to at least be able to understand the basics of what's going on.
Yeah, there's a catch-up promo that you can see to get the high notes. But it's I think people are really going to dig it. It's going to be tonight at 2 a.m. and I think people, if you dig into the message boards where all the hate and darkness in the world lives, people may or may not be giving it a fair shot, but I think you should. And I think if you've gotten this far in pre-flight and the bracket challenge and everything else,
you're probably going to be fine.
Guys, thank you.
Listening to this right now are going to dig it, and we're really happy about it. And
Tell a friend.
Yeah, so tell everybody.
Yeah, and then have them tell Max so he can stop worrying about it not being accepted by Toonami fans.
For sure. So thank you all, and tune in next week for the Adult Swim Festival, where we'll have a special Toonami pre-flight as we wind down the Adult Swim Festival with a look at the PlayStation 5 and a new Tom and Sarah piece for Demon's Souls. And I think that's probably it. We'll throw back to Max, and he can dump on us or dunk on us or hug us, depending on how it went.
Yeah, he can say whatever he wants now, so go nuts, man.
All right, thanks. See ya.
Thank you so much, Jason and Gil. Guys, that was a sweet little message from them. They're corporate shills, aren't they?
They're so sweet. I'm, you know what? I'm I'm glad that they told people to, if they like the show, to tell a friend. I'm expecting that's going to tie up some phone lines tonight. So
People are going to call each other.
They're going to call each other. I think people are going to go back to calling. If you're nervous about the phone, you can send somebody an audio message and just saying, listen, I know that I care about you. I just really want you to watch Game Instead of Death Beats.
And if you guys need any help appreciating the show, I made this timeline today that explains the show so far.
Yeah.
Good.
Where can we see that, Max?
Yeah.
I think someone tweeted it. You can find out about what happened in 1988 versus all the information's there, including redacted bits that I don't want to spoil.
I like all the bars.
You can learn about the Super Sportsman Project. You can learn about what a flying bear is. We need to do that. We need to make like player guides for every TV show, like from Nintendo Power.
Oh, wow.
Congratulations, Cowboy Bebop. How do you guys feel about it? Are you happy or sad that it won?
I'm happy. I think I'm not a Dragon Ball Z fan, but I recognize it's a pretty important show and has a huge following, but Cowboy Bebop's like next level. I mean, I used to tell people when I would recommend it, I'd be like, look, even if it's funny how Gil said that, I was like, even if you don't like anime, this is like an amazing sci-fi. This is like a film. It's very cinematic. It's really a pretty amazing show, and it deserves it, I think.
It's a beautiful welcome to anime, which I think is like definitely to his point. It is a show that you hand people when they're like, I don't know about this anime thing. I don't get it. And then you say, well, have you seen this? Because there's so much to attach to that's like, not there's a lot of familiarity, but also like a lot of surprise. And so I feel like it's a really wonderful way to step through that door and go like, oh yeah, this is just a really interesting story. The animation's beautiful, the music's beautiful, the characters are cool, and it's also everybody after that show, everyone went out and bought corgis. So now there's just been a real upswing in corgis, which I think has to do so much with Cowboy Bebop. Always look at the dogs. Look at what dogs people are interested in, and that'll tell you which shows are doing well.
Let's say goodbye to Dragon Ball, ladies and gentlemen, who made it far with a little song called Chala Head Chala. How's it go? Something like that, right?
Yeah. Now I'm loving Dragon Ball though right now. Now I want to watch Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
Hikaru Komo Otsuka Nuke, fly away. Isn't that like that? But
I'm just gonna vibe, man. Good job. We're sorry that you're gone.
Goodbye, 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 Dragon Ball, you didn't win. Goodbye. This is Avi. Yeah, for some reason they had the job of the weekend switch around the time this show would end. Let's bring it back. Hey, well, we're probably back. Sorry if we lost some of you, but we do need to wrap the show. Dana was talking about how she misses Jason and Gil, wanted to say hello to their faces. I need to announce very importantly, the winner of the bracket submission contest was actually Cool Kevin 54. They didn't get the last one right, but I think they got 57 right, which is the most by far. They got a lot right. And they will be getting, it depends on this. In fact, I wanted to talk about this with Kim, so we're going to see if we can talk about this. Was somebody in the bracket? What the heck just happened? Visually, Sarah's in.
There we are.
I need to change something with Sarah real quick. I need to tell, we're either going to be able to give him another Cowboy Bebop bracket that he gets to curate, depending on what Kim says, or he's going to get a very special clean canteen that says, I'm Kevin, and I won the Toonami Audience Takeover bracket. So he can advertise it everywhere he goes.
Congratulations, Kevin. That's great.
Max, I heard you saying my name. What's going on?
Which part?
There's no vote up, Max. It's over.
Oh, no, there's no vote.
There's no vote.
Yeah, we're done. Did I say your name?
We're done.
Yeah, you did.
I heard my.
We're streaming though. I have the stream on.
We're streaming. We got interrupted. Apparently, the job switched over, but we're back. Thank you so much for everyone. Homunculus says the winner should program a Cowboy Bebop marathon. That was the plan, but it all depended on if it was a show that we could program a marathon for, so I think we can. But thank you so much, everybody, for watching. Thank you, Dana Swanson, for being here. Christy Caracas. Thank you for everyone watching this whole thing. Thank you for voting. Thank you to Jason and Gil. Thank you to Sarah for helping produce this show. Thank you to Christina Loringer, whose birthday it is Monday, who will be making
Happy birthday.
The podcast version. If you're listening to the podcast, email adultswimpodcast@gmail.com with any concerns or thoughts you have. And I don't know, what else do we say? Have a nice time.
Thank you, Max.
Thank you, Max.
You're welcome.
Christy, do you have anything to plug? I feel like plugs are a podcast.
Yeah, guys, do a little plug real fast.
I have nothing to plug, but I will say that there are two things I cannot talk about for Adult Swim that are in the works. So if you're a Christy fan, yay!
That's very exciting.
Yeah, probably not till 2021 or 2022 though, but we'll see.
Welcome to 2025, and now look at all of these things that Christy's done. That's very exciting. I am at Dana Swan, all one word, on social things. Say hi to me. Maybe I'll record a voice memo for you. I also plug Racer Trash. Follow Racer Trash. I produce for them. They're super fun. We recut movies, and then you watch them, and they're better. We make movies better for you. Attack and Dethrone Cinema. Just follow it. You just learn shit. It's great.
Squidward, he's something. Have a great rest of your weekend, guys, and watch my show tonight. Or not.
Oh, yeah, Max's show. We should plug that.
We already did. You can't watch
Famous Son of Death Beats.
Pirate it.
Pirate it. And call a friend to pirate it at 2 a.m.
And now I'm going to solo on top of this. See you, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.